Well, hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this is going to be the start of the T700. I've got a brand new 2025 Tenere 700 and this is going to be the start of my YouTube documentary or journal or whatever, just for myself here, of building this thing for the Continental Divide Ride. Now this is something that my dad and I have wanted to do for quite a while. It's from Banff to New Mexico, all off-road, or as much of it as you can off-road anyway. So I've been looking around at bikes and I ultimately landed on the 2025 T7. A few things just to note with why I chose this one. I was looking at a T7 originally, and then when they came out with the 2025 refresh, well, I just kind of had to have this one with the better suspension and the ride-by-wire throttle and some other little tweaks here and there. For the first episode here, we're going to be changing a few of the stock components and changing it for something a little bit more robust to make it better for off-road. First thing to note is, I don't know if anyone's ever had a 2025 Tenere, they know that the stock plastic handguards that came on them were very, let's just say they were good for wind protection, and that's about it. I took this thing out on this maiden voyage off-road, had a little oopsies, dropped it on the side very nicely as you do off-road, and yeah, just bust it to pieces. So we're looking to replace those. I picked up some Acerbis handguards. I think the X-Factor is what they're called. So we're going to replace them with some nice metal handguards. And we're also replacing the stock skid plate today. So we're going to be getting rid of the stock skid plate and going for something with a little bit more engine coverage, a little bit more coverage, especially on the side where the water pump is. And we're going for an Enduro Engineering skid plate. So we're getting this thing kitted up. We're going to slowly start building it. We're going to make some videos exploring all the vastness and the beauty of Vancouver Island's back roads, because that's something I haven't explored. I've done lots of dirt biking around here when I was younger as a kid, but I want to go and see more of the islands, some more of the remote places. So if you're into that kind of stuff and you want to keep tagging along and watching these videos as I slowly build this up to a little bit more of an off-road capable machine, by all means, make sure you do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's get into it and start changing some pieces around. Okay, so we're going to start with the stock skid plate removal. We're actually changing it for one of these Enduro Engineering skid plates. I'll get a close-up of it so you can see it here. But as you can see on the front, we've got way more protection around the front, around the headers and the exhaust, and especially on the T7s because the oil filter is actually right behind the header of the exhaust. So you want to keep that protected. So this comes up a lot higher around the front and has some side protection on both sides as well that come up a lot higher than the stock skid plate. So that's why I went with this one, the Enduro Engineering, because I have more coverage around the engine as well, not just the front. So we're going to work on that. We're going to take the old stock one off and we'll replace it with this shiny new, well, I'm sure it won't be shiny for long, but shiny new Enduro Engineering skid plate. So take the original skid plate or stock skid plate off is really easy. There's just a few 8mm bolts. So we'll just grab a ratchet here and an 8mm and we'll take these off. There's a few down on the bottom. I think there's a total of 4 or so, or 4 or 5. But we'll take those off all the way along and then the stock skid plate will just drop right off. Super simple, super easy. So I've actually ran into a bit of an issue with mine. There's 4 bolts holding on the skid plates, just 2 on each side, super simple. But one of my front bolts here is actually stripped, the head is stripped. So obviously I've smashed that against something, so that's gonna need a little bit of persuasion. But the other 3 came out super nicely, so we'll get that last one off and then we'll be able to install the new skid plate and see what we need to do there. All right, so the persuasion we were talking about, let's use some vice grips. All right, let's give this a go. Give it a bit of a wiggle. See if we're getting anywhere. It's moving the whole bike. Yeah, that's in there tight and it's all stripped off as well. There we go, look at that. Perfect. And that's the last bolt that needs to come out here. So once that is out, we'll knock this off now. And luckily with this Enduro Engineering skid plate, they come with new bolts as well. So now that that's off, you don't need to worry about the old ones. So like I said, new bag of bolts here. So we're ready to put those new ones in that don't have stripped heads on them. What they want you to do in the video, the installation video, is they want you to remove one of the bolts from the swing arm or the shock linkage. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace that bolt with one that goes through the skid plate at the backhand side here. I don't know if we can see that. We might get a bit of a close-up on if you can see that little back bolts there. So we're going to remove one of those on the bike, get it ready, and then we're going to put that's going to be the first bolt that's going to go in on the skid plate. So now we're actually switching over to 10 mil to take the rear link bolts out. So it's actually 10 mil, the rest of it, the bolts on the skid plate were actually 8 mil. So now we're switching to 10 mil. I'll get it close in so you can see which bolt that we're taking off. So that's going to be the bolt right there. I might just take the extension off the ratchet, but it's just right, the lower one on the linkage there on the swing arm. Oh, and came off nice and easy. So now we're gonna go into our trusty bag of bolts here that Enduro Engineering has supplied. And there is one longer bolt out of the 5. We're gonna add that in. It's just gonna go straight through that little hole I'm talking about on the back of the skid plate here. If you can see that little hole, it's just gonna go through the skid plate and then into the linkage there. So to fit over the kickstart switch or kickstand switch, we're going to have to trim some corner of this skid plate off. Because as we can see here on the 25s, they have a kickstand switch that covers, it's got a nice cover over it. So we're going to have to just trim the corner of this off here to make it slide back far enough to be able to not hit that and get into that bottom bolt on the exhaust hanger there. So I'm gonna do a bit of trimming because this is actually made for a 21 to a 24 model, so the 25s are a tad different. So here we are filing down the skid plate. We actually had to cut a further chunk out than we initially thought, but we're just filing it down, making sure it's all nice and smooth now so it looks nice and doesn't catch our hands or anything, but just small modification needed for this. So we've got the skid plate on and it's tied into the back there. We've got the bolts into the back, but we're running into an issue here where the side of the skid plate is hitting the frame here. So we might have to bend this back slightly just to get it for the front bolt holes to go in properly. It's very, very snug fit. So I think we're just gonna have to bend things back slightly just to get it to fit. Like I said before, this is for a 21 to 24 plate. So might need a few adjustments to get this working properly. Just in the workshop on the press, pushing the side of the plate out so it can fit around the frame rail. Just a small mod we had to do. If you get in trouble, just call your dad. He'll bring his cup of tea out and fix it all for you. After employing the free labor of my dad, we managed to get the skid plate on and all lined up properly. Here we're just tightening it up, snugging everything up, making sure that we got that bolt in the back of the linkage all nice and tight. And here we can see the cut that we've had to make to clear that kill switch on the kickstand. And this is what it looks like, just side view. Okay, so a few days later and a few mods later, as you can see, I just wanted to do a quick recap talking about how the experience went. As I know I've mentioned, I bought the skid plate for a 21 to 24 year Tenere 700. So I knew I had those few modifications to do, but as you could tell, it really wasn't that bad. The only one I was a little bit worried about, which I'm not sure why it was a bit different, is having to bend the side of the skid plate out away from the water pump. Because as we know, it was touching the frame right on the side here, and I'm not sure, I don't think the 25s are any different than the 24s, but we did have to bend that out. Anyway, it was super easy to do that in the press. Thankfully, I had the help of my dad. That guy always knows what he's doing, can always make stuff work. But yeah, going on from that, the skid plate, super happy with it. It's nice and snug, not rattling around. It's really, really well made and honestly quite light for the size of it. Really happy with the coverage though. We'll try it on some off-road adventures and see what comes of it anyway. Yeah, so moving on, talking about the Acerbis Handguards. I didn't get too many videos putting those on, but one thing I will say is if you have any questions about it, just buy them. Because for this bike, it was super easy to put on. All the instructions were very clear. They're super simple to put bark busters on anyway, but the only thing I had to do was take off the bar end mirrors. So I can't fit it with the bar end mirrors. There's too much going on the handlebars here, so we had to take the bar end mirrors off to allow the handguards to slide and mount further in. Other than that though, they've been awesome. They're great wind protection. I haven't fallen off yet, so don't know what they're like there, but they seem super sturdy. And my dad's had them on his 701 and they seem to have done a really good job for him as well. The only issue, which I'll show you now, is I have an aftermarket dash mount where I've actually got my TFT to the left and I put my Garmin GPS on the right. My dad made that for me. So I have a bit of an issue with clearance when I'm turning my handlebars all the way to the right. The handguard, the plastic handguard actually hits the TFT display. So I'm gonna have to fix that, but that's my own doing. So for a stock model without that different dash, I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine. But yeah, those two mods, sorry I didn't get too many videos of putting it together. You know how it is, it gets dark at this time during the winter, but hopefully you guys get the gist of it. And hopefully if you're looking at skid plates, you guys end up landing on these, because so far this has been awesome and I really do like the coverage. But anyway, thank you to everyone that watched this far through the video. I really appreciate it. This is my first video. The next one coming out will be a new modification, as you got a little sneak peek right here. But that is a video I'm working on right now and that should be coming out very shortly. So like I said before, we're building this bike for the ultimate trip, which is going to be the Continental Divide Ride from Banff, New Mexico. But we're going to start local and explore some of the Vancouver Island backroads. So if you guys are interested in watching that and watching me modify this bike for more off-road adventures, please do stick around and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone. I'll see you next time.